All right, people, back again. This is Bob, creator of Ghost Girl, and today I'm going to be talking about Wildstar number 3. And as I said before, Wildstar was one of my favorite Image comics when it came out. It just had the stuff that I liked. And while I was never the biggest Jerry Ordway fan at that time, I did fall in love with his artwork with these issues. Later on, to fall in love with it with Superman. But right here, as we can see, we're going to have a special appearance by Savage Dragon, because Savage Dragon was the one that kept showing up in everybody's books. It was the one that everybody chose to make cameos and everything. They were like, you know, Eric Larson knows what he's doing, and we want Savage Dragon, so it's kind of wild. If you remember last issue, Wildstar had grabbed Mickey and flew off into the sky, going after the New Blue installation. Because that is where they had the files from the Intersci lab that had disappeared, and they are looking for a beacon that will bring an evil alien race to Earth. So that's where we left off, and that's where we're picking up as well, right? Love this artwork here. This is awesome. You get such a great look at this costume, and with, you know, this coloring that they were doing, you know, Ruben Root is the colorist here. He did an awesome job on this book. The artwork is amazing. I love the costume. Everything here was just awesome, okay? There's a thing that's going to pop up later on that I want to talk about, but with the hair here, like, I love that it was white hair with some black streaks, you know, that kind of goes along with the costume. But they land, and on these pages is where we're going to get all of the exposition. We're going to get explanations for everything that's been happening. And to be honest with you, I'm probably going to end up reading the words because it's the best way to get the explanation to where everyone will understand it, okay? But basically, he is going to tell us, okay, he's like, okay, so listen closely. We don't have much time. The general said he downloaded the Intersci file to a database at the New Blue compound. That's a top secret research installation. Remember the beacon I told you about? Your dad's friend Doug Stickney was analyzing it for some special interest that originally discovered it. So Intersci's files should have information as to where it should be, I hope. If I can find the beacon and destroy it before it becomes operational, the Rasplar will never find Earth and mankind will never have to experience Sky Zero. And then Mickey is like, what the hell's Sky Zero? And Wildstar's like, it's the name we gave to the day of hell, to the day all hell broke loose. Some thought it was Judgment Day. Everywhere you looked, there was complete devastation. Almost no place was spared. It was like being at ground zero during a nuclear blast, except even the sky burned. And he's like, you know, I know all of this sounds crazy, blah, blah, blah. So he starts asking about the team of other guys that apparently came back in time with them. And he's like, they're bounty hunters, very dangerous mercenary soldiers that have been after me for years. They work for the corporations that were in collusion with the Rasplar. In the 90s, everything was against the corporation. And I gotta be honest, like, I didn't see it back then because I was a young kid or whatever, but yeah, I mean, to an extent, freaking corporations are just evil, greedy, money-making machines that are out to do whatever to make money and don't care about anything else. So it stands to reason that they would end up funding or you know, doing whatever with anybody who's going to help their interest, you know. And then he says, you know, well, they're the Rasplar, they're the bad guys, right? And Wildstar's like, I guess that depends on your point of view. Sometimes I wonder if there is a right or wrong to all of this. Maybe there are just different agendas. So Mickey asks why they're so dangerous, and Wildstar goes on to say that the Rasplar outfitted their sympathetic corporation's army with deadly weapons called the Kilvan. They're alien symbiotes, which of course he's wearing. They bond with the soldiers and live on them like a parasite, like a tick, except that they provide their host with certain paranormal abilities at a price. The symbiotes live off their host's angry, negative, more bestial emotions. They're in your system, completely connected to your metabolism, so they can control certain glands, secrete certain chemicals that influence behavior. So Mickey's, of course, he's like, but then that means, you know, what you're wearing. And Wildstar again goes on to say that he was working for a genetic lab during the first days of the war. The army had captured an alien soldier and symbiote. His lab had been successful with certain eugenics, so they thought they could tamper with one of their most powerful weapons. They tried to genetically engineer it to enhance its special abilities and reduce its emotion influencing side effects. They were successful in increasing the symbiote's power, but the rest of the experiment wasn't so successful. So basically, he's saying that the one that he's wearing grants him more power than the other ones, but it still is at a cost of causing the emotional or feeding off of the emotional chemicals in his body. It says the symbiotes are hard to control, especially when they need to feed. They get to you after a while. The feelings they influence are very seductive, okay? So, it makes it so that you want to, use these powers so that they can feed more and everything and get what they want. So, there's the seductive portion of it. But just as he's explaining this, he's like, wait a minute, do you hear that sound? And they hear helicopters coming in. We're going to go ahead and cut to General Rourke, who is talking to those helicopters. Those helicopters are stating that they've flown around the area several times and have not found Wildstar or Mickey. The general here is telling Brandon that they are going to the New Blue Research Installation, which is a top secret facility. And even though Brandon doesn't have the clearance for that, he's going to have to trust him because he's going to need Brandon's help to decipher this beacon and what it can do and where it's at and everything, because they believe that the one guy, Doug, at that facility found that beacon. Okay, while Wildstar is jumping through the air with Mickey, he comes across these tanks that were out looking for them. So immediately they start firing, and Wildstar takes the brunt of the explosions. They fall to the ground, but Mickey is hurt. So Wildstar jumps in and starts, destroying these tanks. Now we cut to this police car driving through the desert, and in that police car we have Savage Dragon. Apparently, Savage Dragon was extraditing a criminal from Chicago to Sacramento, and now he's headed back again to fight an enemy called the Shrew. So this is right before we're going to get to the second Savage Dragon #1 for the ongoing series. We'll also notice that Savage Dragon has the mustache that he's going to start that ongoing series with, okay? Just as he's saying that, Wildstar flies right through the car and lands on top of Savage Dragon and immediately recognizes him, like they've known each other and have done things before. So that's another interesting thing. But now we cut to General Rourke and Brandon, and they've landed in front of this house, and Brandon's just like, I don't understand. I thought that we were going to the New Blue installation. And General Rourke is like, of course, So he walks in and there's a guy doing the dishes who's like, howdy, General, nice day, don't you think? And the general's like, sure, Maurice, skies are clear blue too. And this guy hits a button and opens up a door, which opens up other doors, brings it here. And of course, I am going to cut to a clip from Spies Like Us because that's exactly what this reminded me of.
Mr. Ruby.
Sir.
Mr. Keys.
Yes, sir.
Won't you gentlemen have a Pepsi?
So now we cut back to the police car containing Savage Dragon, where he's now fighting Wildstar. And Wildstar is trying to tell him, like, hey, stop, fighting me. I got to tell you stuff, And Savage Dragon, of course, doesn't know who Wildstar is. And the Savage Dragon, most of these superhero beings are villains. So he just continues to fight because, honestly, it's usually the safest bet, okay? But Wildstar puts up a good fight. As they're driving, they come across a military blockade, and Dragon's like, hey, hit the brakes, So they do, and Wildstar goes flying right into this car. Now, we cut to a bunch of soldiers getting onto a helicopter, and basically it's just, some soldiers don't know what they're doing, and the commander there is like making sure everybody's got their guns, and they're like, come on, get your asses in gear, we got to go, helping them on board. As we can see here, we see little clues with the face and everything, but the one of the soldiers is like, oh, by the way, my name's Greg Davery, what's yours? And this person's like, my name is Pear Tree, Andy Pear Tree, my friends call me Hotwire. So this is Hotwire, the guy from the future, and apparently I think he snuck into the army, and you can see he's snatching probably an ID card or something like that, so he'll be able to get into this installation, because I believe he's looking for the beacon. So there is Wildstar lying in the side of this vehicle where he was thrown, and Dragon comes over to grab him, thinking that he's unconscious, but apparently Wildstar is still awake and starts fighting Savage Dragon again. And he keeps, trying to tell Dragon, he's like, this is my fault. You don't know who I am, or you don't know anything that's going on yet, but I guess in the future you will. And he actually protects Savage Dragon when they're starting to shoot at him. And Dragon notices this, because you can see here that he's got, this question mark or whatever. But Wildstar jumps up and destroys the gun and lands back down and says, "Can I give you a hand?" Or no, I'm sorry, that's not him. This is Jumpstart, who says, "Can I give you a hand?" So Dragon should tell by the costume that this person has superpowers. And if he immediately attacks Wildstar thinking that he could be a villain, he should automatically assume that this person is a villain. But he doesn't seem to. He's just like, okay, maybe it's because she's a female, but he takes her by the hand as she's helping him up, and then she zaps him. Now, I am going to say that by the artwork, kind of looks like she grabbed him by the dick to zap him, because that seems to be her personality. She's like really over sexually aggressive and everything. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny, the way that artwork came in. But the zap doesn't take out Savage Dragon, because he is extremely powerful. So he knocks her out, okay, and goes back after Wildstar, who again is, I think this was Wildstar crashing down from the helicopter explosion, or, he was shot out of the air. Wildstar then picks up this truck and throws it into a tank, and he's getting blown like all over the place by this. So he lands next to Jumpstart, and it seems that Jumpstart now is out to help Wildstar. She's kind of portrayed her team of mercenaries, because she gets in the way of this fire that was aiming for Wildstar, and she ends up getting hurt. But as you can see here, it looks like she has some cybernetics going on, right? So he grabs Jumpstart and runs out of the way, and Mickey starts to run in front of the tank to give them cover, because he's like, okay, they won't fire at me because I'm a civilian. And this guy's just like, what the hell is this stupid civilian doing, right? So Mickey jumps up on the tank, and this guy opens the lid to see what is going on, and that's when Mickey kind of hits him to get in. But before that takes place, the helicopter starts firing at Savage Dragon, telling him to not become involved. But Savage Dragon's kind of already been involved or whatever. So Dragon actually grabs this Jeep here and launches it at this helicopter. Now, I think what they're trying to say here is that he just took out the weaponry on this helicopter. But if he threw an entire Jeep at that helicopter, I'm thinking the helicopter should have gone down and there should have been many, many casualties. But like I said, Mickey here takes out this soldier and gets into the tank, but the soldier's like, that was real stupid, kid. I'm a soldier, and you don't have the training to take me out. But apparently when he was hit, he ended up jamming this bumper relay. So he's like, we got to get the hell out of here before this tank explodes. So they jump out, and again, Dragon now jumps Wildstar again, and they're fighting while Mickey and his soldier run away. But before Mickey can get behind the rocks, the tank explodes, and they notice that Mickey was caught in that explosion and run over and grab him and take him into a crater, and he's severely hurt. Mickey's saying that there must have been some kind of damage to his spine, because he can't feel his arms, and they just feel numb. So Jumpstart says she's going to hold off these soldiers while Wildstar does what he has to do, and Wildstar's like, no, I've got this, don't worry about it. So Wildstar jumps up here, and he hits everyone with this giant blast that just takes out Dragon and all of the tanks. And you can see here that it takes out probably all his power. He falls back down into the crater, and then he starts to realize, he's like, so this is not what has happened before. There's been a change. My time loop is different now. So I think I know what I have to do. And he starts to take his costume off, and he's explaining to Mickey that this whole time, you know, he remembers having this dream, this really vivid dream of seeing himself as this future soldier wearing this Wildstar outfit, doing all these amazing things, but he says it couldn't have been him because he was seeing it from outside of his body. And now he realizes that it was because it was Mickey seeing him do this stuff all the time. So we're finding out now that Mickey is actually Wildstar, and that he's going to give him his star parasite to help heal him from the paralysis that he's at. And of course, by doing so, he's going to end up dying because it was the starfish that was keeping him alive the entire time. So it heals Mickey, and as we see here, we're getting the inverted hair color now. So while he had white hair with the black stripes through it, now he's got black hair with the white stripes through it, right? But now he's kind of put back together again. When he goes to take the starfish off, Jumpstar's like, you probably don't want to do that. That starfish is probably the only thing keeping you alive. And he's like, but we can't, you know, we can't just run away and leave, you know, Wildstar here. And she's like, leave who here? And when she turns around, you can see that his body like decomposes like immediately, probably because every ounce of energy had been drained out by that starfish. So she takes him down into this tunnel, okay, because she knows this area in the future, so she knows where she's going. And they fall down the piping and run into Dead Star again. Dead Star attacks them, but then he realizes that now Mickey is the one wearing this starfish, and she tells him how to use it. Touch this starfish and you're going to get, you know, into this costume here. So it gives him the Wildstar costume. And of course they're just like, oh Lord, and I thought things were bad before. So apparently the way he's feeling is that, you know, this kid isn't going to know what to do with this weapon, so it's probably going to be more trouble than it's worth. But that is Wildstar number 3. So we got a lot of answers to a lot of questions that we had for Wildstar. And again, the artwork's amazing, the coloring is amazing, the comic is pretty good. I mean, the story is great. I love the time travel stuff. I felt like there were some instances of like slight contradictions because you're dealing with a time travel story and everything. But overall, I mean, I think the comic's amazing and it's totally worth it. So this, again, one of my favorite series is Wildstar. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review of this comic. If you did, please hit like. It helps my channel grow. And if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.